by performing an adjustment, right? Similarly, there must be an additional amount that exists on the receipt as well, right? The customer may have paid $200. If you take this as an example, right? If you take this as an example, right? There was a customer has paid $200, right? And and the receipt amount was somewhere around $199 or $199.2 to if you further discuss, right? So if you apply this receipt to this invoice to this receipt, there would be $0.08 that exist on the receipt, right? This $0.08 you may or may not refund to the customer. If this $0.0 has to be, if this $0.08 that we receive and additionally from a customer, right? What an as a company, what I can do, what ICO technologies can do, either this $0.8 can be refunded to the customer, or if it is too minute, right? Company can decide this amount can be write off. I'm just knocking off in my books of account, but I'm not going to pay to the customer basically. When you use the write off, when you use the refund, right? It is going to be refund to the customer, which means amount is paid back to the customer, right? But in general, these penny amounts, 0.8 cents, these amounts will be knocked off initially, right? This minimum amount, this negligible amounts basically gets knocked off in reality in any application, right? So let's say for that purpose, any company, any organization, right? So they will be framing some rules, right? What amount, what all the excess amounts I should write off and what all the excess amount I should refund. That is what your corporate policy. It is when I say corporate policy, again, your client is going to decide and tell you, right? Anything less than $3-4, let's say $4, anything less than $4, I'm going to write off. I'm not going to pay to the customer. Even customer is also not going to ask me, right? Anything over $4, I may refund. Let's say there was a $10 exist. Let's say in this case, right? To $10. In this case, $10 I may need to refund to the customer, right? So before refund, let's work on the write-off, right? So to perform the write-off, right? What are the setups that I need to perform? Right? Again, set up minimum and max write-off limits at system options. And then again, this is going to be used at user level, right? Again, approval limits, set the approval limits for the user for this document type. If you remember, when we were performing the when we are setting up the approval, there were a write-off a document type as well, right? So that user should have a valid approval limit set up exist for that user. And obviously you should set up a receivable activity. Why? Because you are when you are making you are inserting in an adjustment on the receipt, the receipt the adjustment is going to adjust some amount. That amount should go and hit into which account? That account is going to come from your receivable activity, right? These are the three setup that you need to perform. Let's go back to system options, right? Setup and maintenance, right? Let me go into manage system options, manage receivable system options. It should be right. Right. Let me go here and search for my business unit. Remember, these setups are at business unit level. If this function to be enabled at multiple business unit, for each business unit, this needs to be set up, right? What we were discussing, on the write-off thing, right? Can you see here from write-off receipt to write-off receipt, from and to amounts, right? So what we discussed, anything less than, let's say $4, let's say, right? -4 to $4. Right? This for anything less than this amount, it should go for the write-off at system level. See this configuration, whatever we are setting up system level, this limited business unit level. Remember this configuration, this control I am putting at business unit level, but each business user who is going to perform the write-off activity may have approval limits the same amount or even lesser amount. Right? That is possible. Right? A business user, an entry business user who perform an account, level one account can be allowed to perform adjustments only to $2 to adjustment write off to till $2. But my level two accountant should be able to perform the adjustment write off receipt write off till $4. That is possible, right? This is how you can control that option. See, because whatever the max cap that needs to be written off, write off, has to be set up at your business unit level, and the approval dollar amount that the user should be able to approve should be set up at user level, right? So let me save it, save and close. I am done with my system. The first setup I am done, right? Second is one, set up the adjustment approvals for the user. What we discussed, from same user, it will not allow you to set up the approval limits, because that is the reason I have logged into a different user, which is your cloud user, right? Manage approval limits. Let me go here, right? And try to create the approvals for my user for a different document, right? Right. This is the user, and this is a receipt write-off. Again, for refund also, we have to come back and define these approvals basically, right? So receipt write-off for US dollars, right? What is the amount the user should be able to allow? Maybe $3, because even though my corporate policy says till $4, $4 amount on a receipt can be written off, but the user ICOR is an user ICOR should be allowed to written off only $3. Even that also can be configured, right? If a different user who a level two account, let's say level two account is a different user, that user wants to should be allowed to $4. You have to update this amount. If a user, maybe a entry level user, he should be allowed only $1. Subsequently, you can do that as well, right? My user level setups are also done. Now I need to set up the receivable activity now, right? Receivable activity for my, what is that? Write-off. Manage receivable activity. I think something I have wrongly typed. Right. So similarly, you can search for your business unit. Let's see if it exists. One exists for this. What is that? Receipt write-off, right? I don't think it is by system automatically created, because these write-offs are performed by various users. I can even have a different activity for different write-off for different type invoice transaction types as well, right? So that is the reason for a wide range of transaction types, application doesn't limit basically, right? So let me create one for my receipt write-off, right? So I told you yes, RCG write-off, right? So my activity type should be my receipt write-off if it is. Can you see here? It is receipt write-off, right? So I need to provide the default code combination again. right? Any account I should take the relevant account, right? If let me search if I have. If not, we can assign any account, but let me see if I have the proper one. We don't have, right? So let me see if I can find something. So I don't have any receipt write-off account, anything I can take. Basically, it should be your expense type account, right? So I can take any expense account as well, not an issue, right? Unfortunately, we don't have any expense account. So I can take anything, right? Just assume that this is the write-off account, that's it. So let's say this 1370 unbilled receivable. Let's say this is my write-off account. Right, save and close. Now you have all the setups in place for to test the functionality, right? So again, maybe you have to replicate the same setup again. So let's see. I have to create a transaction again, right? So business unit, right? So make an INC, right? Let's say test one quantity 199. Let's say right, complete and review because I need this invoice number. Let me take this number into one here, right? So let me create a receipt as well. Right, so let me go into the receipt, create receipt, create receipt, right? So for $200, right? Let me enter the customer, right? So I can even apply this receipt as well, right? Right, this is a confirmed receipt. Right, let me apply the open receivables. I think it's the same one, right? I think it is the invoice number one also same. Fine. There is a $1 which is exist on this receipt, right? This receipt, either this receipt $1 can be refunded or write off. But as per the corporate policy what we discussed, anything less than $4 is going to be written off, right? So how do I do? Just go into this, right? Go into actions, more, and then create write off, right? So what is the amount I want to write off? $1. And what is the activity? Receivable activity, right? Simple, right? Save it, right? Can you see this amount, unapplied amount is gone. Now you can create account, right? This adjust the activity must have been added over in the bottom as well. Let's check the accounting, right? confirmed cash, $199 was put into your receivable and $1 was put into your write-off account. If you see this write-off account, we have set up this account, we have set up it our receivable activity setup. This is how your write-off is going to work, right? And you can even see this write-off event is being added on the receipt as well, right? This is how you record your write-offs. Now, refund is the other one we spoken, right?